general idea, and certainly what's his name, the guy who went on to do Rick and Morty, I think he's mostly it's mostly from a sympathetic point of view, that character, but she's still shown to be wrong sometimes, right? She's still shown to be incorrect and on the wrong side of arguments and things. Whereas I feel like MJ
just kind of
it's sort of like
counter.
Yeah, she's going against the grain, and sort of she's correct, and she's society, and she's telling you the stuff that Fox News doesn't want you to hear, kind of thing.
Okay, well let's get started now, because this is going to be about 13 minutes, and it's one of the more different, if not more intelligible, YouTube videos we've ever covered, and I would like to go through it just because it's such a different pace, different style, and by different style I mean there's actually references and evidence and things that follow a logical through line. You're like, oh yeah, I see what he's talking about. So I like that. Even if you don't agree with him, that's totally cool. So that's fine. Anyway, let's get started. Welcome to Smudcast number 173, The Weird Ways to Adapt Mary Jane, a video essay. And this is by the user, let me just pull up his name, Implicitly Pretentious. So there we go. Fantastic name. 60K subs.
That's hilarious.
That's a great name. Almost 500,000 views. This was published in October 2020. So it's been around for a few months. And I just finished watching it. I thought it was a pretty good video, which I don't get to say too often. So that's always nice to say, at least on this show. Because the rest of the time it's all... So luckily,
Just Right or Patrick.
Well, we haven't done Just Right or Patrick in a while, so but yeah, no, they
we need to then.
Really? Do we really need to? I don't know.
Do we? Was the one about
it would be hilarious.
Muppets and capitalism? Isn't that one?
No.
I think it was Labyrinth and capitalism, as well as like why what's the need for R-rated superheroes? He does seem to have developed a brain, which is weird in some of his videos. Like,
I think he just has some blind spots,
Well, he's exhausted all his subjective understandings. Now he's like, oh, what do I have left up here? Oh, yes. Thoughts. Logical thoughts. Let's connect them. Let's use that. Make video. Okay, great. Yeah. So, if you guys don't know, we're looking at two Mary Janes, or MJs, on the silver screen. So if you guys aren't familiar, there's the three Sam Raimi Spiderman movies, and how many are there of the new ones? I don't remember. Just the two?
Two.
Right.
Is there a third one?
I think there was a third one. It's supposed to come out this year, I think. Not likely, but maybe. I do know, there was originally going to be Mary Jane. I think Shailene Woodley was originally going to play Mary Jane in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but then they cut her out because the movie was way too crowded at that point in time, but then they kept it relatively crowded in the final cut.
Okay, so you have to know a little bit more about the character of MJ from the comics. The author's going to go through some of that. He does obviously cut out a lot of the context of the character, but I think he gets to the root of the comparison, which I think is great.
Message coming in.
So let's get started. I think it's going to be good. Joe Crazy. Hey, now I think we need more Matt Pat. You know what? I could do an entire year without Matt Pat, and I would be very happy with that. I think that would be great.
I don't find his videos as interesting or as fun to cover that much, because it's just like, okay, that's kind of dumb.
That is the general idea. It's just kind of silly, and then we're not supposed to take it seriously, but he says serious stuff, and you're like, what do we do with this thing?
He'll have like a really silly theory, but then he'll have like something about like representation in something, and then it'll. So he'll have like silly videos, and then he'll be like, "How games?" or that one he had about LGBT in games.
It's a mixed bag of just ridiculous crap, and I'm like, "Oh, great, fantastic! I can't wait to sit through this for 10 minutes. So
and if it isn't one of those two videos, it's a videos where it's like going over math and science, where if you don't know the subject or have the time to research,
well, I think it's very simple math a lot of the time. It's mostly just like how dense is this material? What is the average weight of like I guess like a meter cube or whatever.
Anyway, let's not think about MatPat for a long time, and let's get back to Spider-Man. Here we go.
Yes.
Mary Jane suddenly had all the personality, and Gwen, while she was a nice girl, was just a nice girl. And Mary Jane was the one with the fiery personality, and she was hip and everything, and we couldn't control that. We couldn't make Gwen as exciting or personable as Mary Jane, even though we tried.
Mary Jane's character originated from a very specific cultural context. It was back in the 1960s during the rise of the American youth counterculture movements, where teenagers began to replace traditional social norms and values with new rebellious standards. Mary Jane is more or less intended to be a representative of this transition. She offered a different type of love interest that contrasted the more conventional values of Gwen Stacy. She partied, she openly displayed interest in Peter Parker, and often held a far more active role in her stories. For example, arguably her most iconic moment in the comics was her decision to stay with a mourning Peter Parker after Gwen died, despite him yelling at her. Therefore, a modern assertiveness that is innately transgressive is what defines her. But how do you update the character moving forward while preserving the original artistic intent under completely different social circumstances? Considering the fact that young people partying doesn't quite hold the same countercultural connotations as it did decades ago. Especially in Western culture, studies often show that modern kids have started to increasingly drink less.
Bourbon or scotch or something like that.
I'm not old enough to drink.
Therefore, the creative space between...
Okay, that's like totally a normal reaction to not drinking, is you're not legally allowed to drink. So that's fine. The idea behind having...
I'll never stop people in my area.
This is true. So
yeah, besides, isn't he like 16 at the time or something like that?
Right. So
I mean, in Homecoming, wasn't he like 16 or 15 or something like that?
Yeah. 16,
so the idea behind introducing a character to a narrative which has been done before is to do something new for whatever reason. And I see nothing wrong with that for a secondary or tertiary character which is not completely relevant to everything. So that's fine. Like you can do all these, like what's a sidekick to Superman at the Daily Planet, the photographer guy, I can't remember his name, but all these characters that
Jimmy Olsen,
there you go. Like they're just there to be the guy with the camera, and that's it. Mary Jane is much more than that. So do we really need another version of Mary Jane? Not necessarily. So these are things of changing things up just for the sake of it, to make it more modern. And I see absolutely nothing wrong with that, unless there's some weird, unless she's like some weird punk rocker chick who's like really rebellious and you're gonna be like, whoa, that's a bit too far.
Not
that would
really.
be
She's kind of just a kind of a little bit of a hipster, and it seems like she's lonely but doesn't want to admit it type. That's the vibe that I get from Zendaya.
One kind of weird thing about the Tom Holland Spider-Man is that it almost feels more like Miles Morales in the comics, but they just sort of put some traits from Miles in the comics and put them onto Peter in the MCU movies.
Yeah, like his best friend is is Miles' best friend rather than Peter doesn't really have like a best friend in high school.
Other than like Harry, other than
Harry,
Harry Osborn is like a friend character, I guess.
Yeah, but it seems as though like the MCU has surgically removed Osborn as a whole and Oscorp as a whole.
Was that a licensing thing, or?
I imagine it is, because also could be that like they saw the Amazing Spider-Man movies and how those movies kind of tanked by overusing Osborn. They
I feel
decided
like there'd be a problem with incorporating it into the universe at this point, because he's supposed to be this big businessman who has this massive corporation, and it's like, how have we never heard of this before? Especially with, like, you would expect that to come up with, I guess, like Tony Stark. You would expect that to come up at some point, that there's this massive corporation that also does similar things. So it'd be weird to bring it in now.
I suppose that it could kind of be like a Justin Hammer type situation, where now that like Iron Man is kind of out of the picture, I guess.
That might be interesting.
Where kind of somebody can come in to fill that void. No sexual connotations implied there, but they can fill the business void. And now that like I guess like the problems with the snap are out of the picture, or maybe even because of the problems of the snap, that Osborn Corp can come in and get a mega boom.
Between memory and culture is what this essay seeks to examine. In other words, I'm just gonna go ahead and indulge into some social cultural theory stuff that no one cares about but me.
Parker, hello. You're fired.
Why are you here? You don't even have detention.
Oh, I know. I just like coming here to sketch people in crisis.
There's been currently 2 official live-action
Like, that's one of those lines that's just so... it's just cringe.
Does she have nothing better to do
frustrating, yeah.
with her life?
It feels like a caricature of a rebellious teenager
It's
would
like,
say that.
I feel like this is the moment where we display our palms and wobble them back and forth, shouting, quirky! You know?
Hey.
She's got all this character, and she's going to waste it sitting in detention drawing some person.
Like, he's so quirky.
I've never met anybody who would do that willingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine you could get better models at a mall. That seems like it would be a better price for Crisis, and just looks weird. Maybe she just had... I think they would probably be better if like they actually said that she has like a like abusive home life, but
right. Go to the fucking... If you want to see that, go to the DMV.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but there's a reason why someone as smart and clever as her and artistic as her would be doing stuff like this. Because I've met very talented drawers and artists when I was in school, and they would sit in weird positions or this or that, just drawing. So it's like, okay, but there's a reason behind that. There's not just like, oh, I want to draw you. It's like, no. They would actually look at people and ask them. They wouldn't just sit there in the corner. So this kind of thing would require a backstory, like, oh, she has a horrible family life or something in the background. And that's one of the problems with this MJ as opposed to the Mary Jane we see in the Raimi movies, because we see that family, and that is not the greatest, safest looking house and home. So we get she's more of a person in the Sam Raimi movies, even though you don't like her depiction. We at least get her backstory, the hard time she's going through, her relationships, that sort of thing. With MJ in the new films, she's just MJ, like she's just at school all the time.
Yeah, we don't really like. Kind of one thing that kind of like Guillermo del Toro said that like as applying to monsters, but it also applies to other characters, is we don't really see her in repose. We just kind of see her like just act it like just as in school all the time. We don't see her home life at all.
Right. There are some scenes outside the school where she's shopping or this or that, but it's like it's not where does she come from? Who are
I don't get any impression of like her character at all. It's just she's just there to make these little snide comments.
She is purposely
like you never get a sense of like, oh, what does she want out of life, or like what are her goals or anything. You never get any of that. Whereas with Mary Jane in the Raimi movies,
I can't remember what was.
You have a clear idea.
The girls was that quiz thing they were testing for that Peter was a part of, And Peter's like, no, I can't go because I gotta wait for my meeting with Iron Man or whatever the hell it was. And he breaks out of the club, and as soon as that girl says, "I'm not interested in you anymore" or whatever, that's when MJ sort of moves in on Peter. Like, wait, what? It's like, why did that happen? So it's kind of weird for that sort of development to occur in that way. And I just found it a little awkward and
also the between movies, he just basically he goes from being basically nobody, and then suddenly he's like, oh yeah, I've got to do it, I'm gonna ask her, and I'm really nervous about it. And I was like, all of this infatuation built up off screen between movies out of nowhere. Whereas in the Raimi movies, it's from the get go, and it's childhood friend as well, or like he's lived next door to her from childhood. You can see the reasoning.
I do think there are certain problems with Mary Jane in the Raimi films. Like, I don't think that she's a very it seems as though the movie doesn't fully understand the fact that Mary Jane is not a good person.
Yeah, he does some things where it's like, whoa, what the fuck? What the fuck? Why did you do that? What the heck?
Yeah, it's like, why is she like she's totally like leading this poor guy on because she likes Peter Parker and wants Peter Parker to commit to being with her, and it's just like, wow, you're a horrible person.
I can kind of understand before she knows he's Spider-Man, and he's like basically blowing her off and saying that he's not interested, when really it's because he's Spider-Man. And I can see how it looks like mixed signals, and that might be annoying. But I don't think that justifies everything that she does or all of the way she acts.
There's also kind of the implication at the end of the first movie that like she's super shocked when he kisses her, and it's kind of implied that she knows that he's Spider-Man. And then, like, at the end of the second movie, she says, I guess I've always known. It's like...
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, it says
odd.
It's weird. Strange. Like, I get she's more of like a full-fledged person, but I think the movie doesn't fully, and like kind of has her as like the aspirational love interest figure without fully understanding a lot of her flaws as a person. It just kind of seems as though there's a bit of cognitive dissonance there.
All right, here's Joe Crazy. I think Flash Thompson got the worst of it when it comes to being adapted. Now we're talking about the original one, or the next two films.
I think that I would have to say that he is very, very like weirdly adapted in the MCU. In the MCU, because he's kind of this just squirrely nerd type.
Yeah, you're like, how the fuck is this guy the bully?
Yeah, he's not the jock that he is in the comics.
I guess it's kind of implying that like he's like this like douchebag nerd, since douchebag nerds are just as awful as douchebag jocks, if not worse. But
I feel like though, like I can't see that character having, I guess, like the street cred to be able to basically leverage their popularity to pick on someone, because you kind of need to have that like approval from other people so that you can say, like, put someone down, because like you need that leverage to do that, and I just don't feel like that character that comes across like he has that at all.
Yeah,
especially when you're talking to fucking Tom Holland, and he's like this incredibly fit guy, like attractive guy, and you're like, how the fuck is this guy being bullied?
Yeah, and I think another problem is just the fact that he's this squirrely nerd, but there's kind of like I guess like just weird things, like he smacks Peter's bottom at one point, and it's just like kind of implication that he's messing with him because he's like attracted to Peter, I guess. I don't know.
I didn't really get that, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why he's smacking his butt. Like, that's just weird. Yeah, he's just... Yeah.
So either way, the character in the last two films was seen as an intelligent guy. He was on the same team or the quiz team that Peter was on. And in the other films, he's seen more traditional character from the comics. He's the jock sort of dude. So, yeah, I mean, you could take the adaptation either way, depending on whether you liked either characters for whatever reason. So it's still an adaptation. You're going to get some differences regardless. Anyway.
Yeah.
Adaptations of the Kirsten Dunst and Zendaya interpretation, and they both carry completely different strategies. Sam Raimi went with the far more direct approach by reinstating as much of the original literal qualities as possible. She's the popular girl acquainted with Aunt May and occupies the same small neighborhood as Peter Parker.
Were you listening to that?
No. Well, I heard, but I was just taking out the trash.
The artistic mechanism used to legitimize this direction comes from the movie's nostalgia-heavy style. So here I am referring back to Wilson Coe's nostalgia essay again. He argued everything about the Sam Raimi direction downplayed its contemporary markers and instead flooded the screen with retro elements like cars, clothes, and even technology in order to encourage the audience to connect with the movie through their own generic memories of the Spider-Man brand. As a result, it's this illusory fairy tale-like quality and direction that makes Mary Jane's late 60s appearance and qualities consistent within the context of the early 2000s.
That girl. The girl next door. Mary Jane Watson.
The fucking color... The fucking color grading of the Raimi films is so fucking good. Like that scene where he's like, it's like the sky behind him, like how vibrant like everything looks, so how it looks so like comic booky in a way that the MCU movies don't.
Yeah, there's a grayer color grading with the MCU films.
I just love how it just so like vibrant, like it's so fucking good. I think another thing as well is like there are scenes in the Raimi trilogy where it's literally like panel recreations, you know, like even like the bit where he has the spider suit in the trash. He's walking away from it, and it's like an exact recreation. So I think there's that as well, which is missing from the MCU movies.
The MCU movies don't feel like a comic book movie sometimes. They feel like an action movie with superheroes in it.
Concur with that. I think still the best adaptation of Spider-Man remains the Spectacular Spider-Man TV show.
Yes.
Interestingly enough.
Just by virtue of the fact that, like, that's got the best Mary Jane, that's got the best Gwen Stacy. Maybe...
Wait, which Spider-Man TV show is this?
Oh, is it
Spectacular Spider-Man?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Not the 90s one.
Not
the 90s one is...
That was
the
like
90s one's meh. It was meh.
This one was like...
I like the theme song for the 90s one.
Yeah, that one's very eclectic and psychedelic in a lot of ways.
I keep mixing up the theme song for the 90s Spider-Man with the theme song for X-Men Evolution. In my head, I keep accidentally going into...
I do remember...
They are very, very similar, but I think the X-Men Evolution was better.
Well,
it's very catchy.
I do recall the level of storytelling in the 90s for a variety of cartoons. I would say Gargoyles was the most mature, and second place would have been the Spider-Man TV series. So
I don't think we got Gargoyles over here. I'm not sure.
Really? Well, Gargoyles is a
unfortunate scumbag.
Yeah.
Gargoyles, like, the first two seasons are good. Third season's... Ugh.
Yeah,
I don't like the third season very much. It's very disjointed and doesn't have a through line, really.
It's such a weird change, kind of like the second or third season. It was the second season of The Real Ghostbusters, where they changed all kinds of crap because the executives got involved. But I was talking about the writing quality and the maturity of what was happening in the actual story. Like, it had elements of a soap opera, of a fantasy, of a comic pulpy thing going through it. So there's lots of stuff happening.
Science fiction.
Oh, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Science fiction as well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was nuts.
I think it's kind of kitchen sink fantasy in a way.
There was magic,
it's throwing everything and their mother at it.
Yeah, that's kind of what Spider-Man's always been, though. It's kind of been the forerunner of the Marvel world, at least in the world of the way that Stan Lee thought of it.
Well, I think it's the rogues gallery that really makes a hero. I think it's
yeah.
That's why Batman is also so popular as well, because he has like so many great villains.
I think that's a major problem that a lot of other superheroes have to deal with, is because a lot of people want to write Spider-Man and Batman, and not as many people want to write the other bad guys. So
I think it is because of the villains. I think the villains is the main reason.
The villains have interesting backstories while looking pretty cool. I mean, like
I think X-Men has some pretty good villains. Although, for some reason, I don't know if we're ever going to get a good Fantastic Four adaptation.
I think there's too much.
I don't know.
There's too much going on. In
So much.
Fantastic Four.
Which is annoying because Doctor Doom is a really good villain. Like, he's really intimidating and interesting and stuff.
I think the one thing that is a problem with, like, it seems as though like there aren't really good bad guys for a lot of characters. They've usually got one good villain and the rest ones are just meh. Like Fing Fang Foom is just kind of a weird idea. You got Baron Zemo's okay, I guess. Crimson Dynamo.
Isn't there like a one with like polka dot powers or something?
I think the Spot. Like, he's able to create like portals just by like just throwing his hand up. He can just go through portals because he's like absorbed this weird device. He appeared for one episode of the '90s Spider-Man cartoon.
I remember that. Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep going.
So directly the internal themes of Mary Jane's story, her relationship with Peter Parker is literally framed around nostalgia. In the first movie, she represented Peter Parker's older ones prior to the curse of responsibility, because she was the popular girl that he perved over all the time. In the second movie, she's still the same old desires, but now her value has changed, for the reason that she finally moved on without him.
And I can't keep thinking about you. It's too painful.
And this makes Peter Parker reevaluate his commitment to his uncle. Therefore, in both movies, she thematically fulfills the role as a temptress, straying him away from the moral path, similar to the Joseph Campbell monomyth stage. For example, in both Spider-Man 1 and 2, Peter Parker ends up rejecting her after the big fight with the villain because, for his soul to remain pure, he has to deny what his body wants. However, the ending to Spider-Man 2 and her role in Spider-Man 3 subverts this by having Mary Jane break her passivity and be the one to initiate the romance with Peter.
Had to do what I had to do.
In Spider-Man 3, Mary Jane has
jilting a guy at the altar,
simply having Peter Parker reject her all
What a
the time.
fucking bitch.
Her career is flushed down the toilet, her dreams are dead, even her social life is dead, because now that Spider-Man is busy being famous, she's now truly all alone.
Hey, beautiful. One more. Everything okay?
Mary Jane's nostalgia is the thing that brings her pain, and it's the pattern that Spider-Man 3 brings forth to give her story a sense of cohesion. Peter Parker originally reflected the thing that she didn't have, a loving upbringing with a passionate family member that believed in her, because in Sam Raimi's interpretation, Peter Parker is effectively an old man trapped in a young man's body. His hair isn't even like Ringo Bloody Stars. Furthermore, there's a stronger focus on the idea that Peter Parker's primary socialization from two elderly people is also the reason why he's so estranged from the other kids. But it's precisely this isolation that makes him attractive to MJ.
I cried like a baby when you played Cinderella.
Peter, that was first.
Well, even so.
He fills in an emotional space that was previously not only empty but was raw and aching. However,
weird
this also
performance
makes the relationship
from
deeply unhealthy.
with that one.
Ruined her marriage. Mary Jane finds it hard communicating with him, and she even
very
gets punched in the
bizarre
bloody
choice.
face when he's jealous.
Oh, she's been going through a tough time, man. Career,
That face.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire, like in Spider-Man 3, does not come off as cool. Like, he just comes off
Those
as
fucking eyes, bro.
yeah,
and a jerk.
Oh,
yeah. He, as opposed to like Spectacular Spider-Man, where he gets the black suit and he just kind of stands straighter, like his whole posture changes, and he's just much more assertive. This is just like a nerd's idea of trying to be cool when he just dances up the street. And
like, does his face look like it's mirrored? Like it's mirrored down the middle?
Like it's almost perfectly symmetrical.
Yeah. It just like the more I can't stop looking at it. It looks so weird to me.
Yeah.
Chin.
Yeah. The double chin helps with the split, but yeah.
I think the idea of I don't mind him being like awkward and not actually that cool in that scene. Because the idea of the symbiote sort of lowering his inhibitions kind of thing. I'm being less worried about that kind of thing, and you even see like the people as he's walking past, like they aren't reacting positively to him. Like,
no, they're
kind
not.
of like they're kind of like, bro, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I think
literal cringe faces all around.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Yeah.
So he's in his own he's in his own wee world, sort of at that.
Yeah. Then he just starts twerking.
Yeah.
Which is
just starts fucking Fortnite dance.
Is kind of hilarious. Which is I think that's supposed to be funny, but it seems like it's going a little bit too far into making him look ridiculous.
Spider-Man 3 was like the first movie where, as a child, walking out of it, I was like, that was bad. That was bad. I did not like that. That like, because before, like as a kid, you're not like, you have very like you're very flexible in terms of what you'll be okay with.
Yeah,
it takes really bad to make you dislike something, because most of the time, as long as there's like action and stuff, you're gonna be like, yeah, it was good. I like the action-y parts and the stuff where the thing happened. But for some reason, I just came out of Spider-Man 3 just like,
I liked it the first time I saw it, mostly because like I didn't know if I would ever watch it, so I just read the Wikipedia synopsis, and then I watched the actual movie. And so I was like, I knew what was going to happen, so I was like relatively okay with it. Also, I liked the black suit, like the look of it, but like I didn't fully process the weirdness of the twerking.
Also, the game was worse than the Spider-Man 2 game.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems with the third movie. The sheer amount of characters in it. Like, we had 3 villains in the movie.
I'm not sure what it would have been better if it focused on. I feel like Venom just added. I mean, it added the black suit, but it'd be better to have Sandman and not Venom, I think.
I think it would have been better to focus on. I'm not sure how to fix it. You almost have to rewrite the entire movie to make it work. It's one of those situations again.
It's basically nuke it from orbit and start from scratch.
There's so many problems with just the plot and stuff that it just.
Not to mention, if I believe the rumor is correct, Sam Raimi wanted to make it awful because he was tired of writing Spider-Man.
Well, I know he didn't want to do Venom. Like, that was.
Yeah, because that was
really
Aviara Aviara, the producer at the time, really pushed Venom because.
Is a favorite character and stuff.
Yeah, I
think Raimi just didn't even like the character in the comics at all. So
I'm trying to remember where this scene takes place, because I know there's a scene where he goes to the jazz club and he's dancing with Gwen, and Gwen realizes that Mary Jane's there, so she's like, "What are you doing? We shouldn't be here. It's gonna piss her off." So she leaves. So I think this was...
Yeah, she kind of like figures out Peter's just dating Gwen to make Mary Jane jealous.
It's like, oh, that's not smart.
Singing waitress at a jazz club? It's not exactly what she had in mind for herself.
When Sam Raimi strips away the nostalgic presentation in his direction, there's a sadness to everything. Mary Jane is presented as a victim of time. Therefore, her arc and the movie's presentation work in harmony to legitimize each other, so this whole myth is given new life as a tragedy about commitment. Except most people don't really like this version of the characters, so the results are kinda dubious. However, John Watts and Marvel Studios took a far more philosophical approach, where it's less about adapting the literal properties of the character, but reapplying what she originally socially represented into the modern context, in terms of being a girl who was subversive to the norms around her. In Carolyn Jackson and Penny Tinkler's research, they argue that the idea of the modern girl is often defined as anything that is broadly transgressive towards normative attitudes, and nowadays that actually leans more towards being boyish.
I don't know. I don't see her as subversive. I just see her as this strange girl. That's pretty normal. You see strange people all the time in high school. This is nothing amazing to me, at least.
At the start of this, we had a whole conversation about how we just saw her as generic rebel character.
Yeah.
It's not very subversive.
It's really not like, it's not in the same way as the character was in the comics relative to the 60s.
For sure,
You can pretty much find a majority of female characters that are almost like that are relatively similar to MJ.
Strong, independent woman.
I think it's almost a cliche at this point, I'd say.
And it's not just for girls, but
I don't think she's strong, independent. She's just kind of aloof.
Yeah, just quirky, just a little bit quirky.
Yeah. There's all kinds of people you might remember from your grade school that you might have followed into high school that changed drastically for whatever reason. You're like, wow, you're totally different than what I remember you, or whatever puberty did to them, or whatever cause it was. It's like, yeah, this is completely strange than what I recall. Why and how? You get that a lot throughout high school. So it's not like it's subversive to the trope of what a girl in her late teens might be like. She's nothing to do with this concept. She's her own character being weird, and that's fine. It's nothing amazing. It's nothing special. It's like, yep, this is high school. Okay, great.
She's not even that weird, and it's not the same thing as, because there isn't really a uniform, like, consistent counterculture movement in the same way that there was in the 60s. You know, so it's just not the same thing.
Right. That's why when we talked previously about it, when I said if she was like punk or goth or something else, that'd be like totally like, oh, that's different. That's a really odd choice. Like, why did she start using all that makeup? Why is she like wearing ripped jeans all the time? Like something to identify.
Yeah, fucking goth MJ. I'd be into.
Well, yeah, that'd be cool. That would be a stylistic choice that you could identify and say, okay, they're rebelling, or they're being, or they're just a normal person that's just choosing to look a different way, and everything about them is totally sweet and kind and nice, and they're lovely and friendly. They're just a bit weird here and there, and that's that. You can go all sorts of routes with these side characters, because so long as they fill a role in the plot to either influence the hero to do something or not doing something, that's great. That's all you need them for. They could be whatever. The MJ could be Michael Jackson for all I care. It doesn't mean a damn thing.
That would be a little bit sus. A little bit suspect.
That'd be a little bit weird.
Spider-Man, you gotta make him feel.
Moon
walks away.
Anyway.
Security comes by, they're like, damn it, we told you to keep out of here. The restraining order, damn it.
Give me the pictures of Spider-Man, darn it.
The same
it's the right initials anyway.
What about the Daria-like girl who doesn't wear
makeup
MJ or have a large social circle?
But then why do you sit with us?
Because I don't have any friends.
Therefore, MJ and Michelle Jones, despite being a different character...
Were they actually sitting with her? Because she's like 2 tables down.
And she's at the very far end of the table.
Yeah, that's the scene I was talking about earlier, like where Peter and Ned are looking at what's her name, Michael Keaton's daughter in the first movie, and then she's like, "Oh, you guys are weird." That's the scene I was talking about. That's like right after that scene, like, "Oh, you guys are weird."
I actually laughed at that. I feel very bad. I actually laughed at that because that's my type of humor. I could definitely see why people wouldn't like it, but I like taking the piss out of other people in certain ways, and it just kind of feeds into my bias, I guess.
Inspired by Mary Jane, technically preserves more of the original artistic intent, to the extent that in Homecoming, MJ is once again presented as an alternative to Liz Allen, the more conventionally accepted love interest. As a result, MJ's story functions oppositionally to Sam Raimi's Mary Jane thematically. She's not a form of temptation straying Peter Parker away from his heroic duties. Instead, she's actually more akin to a goddess, there to guide him back. As good old Joseph Campbell said, she can always promise more than is yet capable of comprehending. She bids him burst his fetters, and if he matches her import, the two, the knower and the known, will be released from every limitation.
All right, so trying to interpret Joseph Campbell is not the easiest thing in the world, so I take that for what it's worth. Yes, the inspiration from the goddess is a thing. And
I'd say partner? I'd say partner more than goddess, in a way, because she knows that he's Spider-Man, she supports him and tries to help him.
Right, you're talking about direction. You're talking about giving the main character some sort of help or a focus or the right answer so they can keep going. But that's any character. That's any subplot. That's any sort of resolution to a plot point. So it's like, okay, fine. They figure something out. Whether it's represented by a person or a thing, it's fine. I'm not against this weird connection with Joseph Campbell. It's like, I can forgive all this stuff because it's very interpretive anyway, and it's not wrong.
Message coming in.
Because she does fulfill that role.
It through.
But is it that vital? Nah, not really. It could be anyone.
As I'm looking at it, I definitely noticed that the Peter Parker in the MCU definitely has a type. Because Zendaya and the actress playing Liz Allen are very, very similar. At least, like, relative. They're both
ambiguously brown women.
56%.
Oh dear, Peter Parker is David Benioff confirmed. Kill him.
Oh no. They're both attractive. They're both intelligent. It's like, okay, whatever. There's no rivalry. There's nothing like they're fighting over him or anything like
He's
that.
definitely moving from one person to another one. He's moving from one person to another since one of them moves to Twilightsville, Oregon.
Right. Plus, he's giving up on waiting to go to wherever that competition thing was. He's like, I'm not going because I gotta wait for Iron Man to meet with me or whatever. So he's planning out his future essentially. So it's like, okay, cool. Life choices. Anyway, Joe Crazy. I never really got the appeal of the whole Daria personality. The whole deadpan humor thing gets annoying after a while.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we agreed on that before the stream started.
Yeah, you definitely have to like layer it in spurts. Like I try to like do certain types of humor like it in my own books, but it's mainly like a person deliberately eschews. Well, partially because it's a dragon, female dragon saying it rather than a person. She just says, "You humans have hang-ups." And it's about your reproductive stuff.
I just think it's like if every single line is like a deadpan quip, it just gets old.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about MJ.
Nobody really wants to be around a pessimistic person all the time.
Yeah.
Unless they're vital to the story. Again, why have these characters be the way they are? For the sake of it, okay, that's fine. Do whatever you like. But give me something to work with. Why they're in the way or helping someone. Just give me
it just
something.
doesn't seem like there's very much to her characters. It just seems very shallow.
MJ is actually the one who accidentally ruins Mysterio's plans.
Well, do the Night Monkey and Spider-Man...
Wait, so she accidentally screws up the plot? That's great. Fantastic. Oops. Whoopsie.
Well, she just finds a piece of like the holographic projection stuff.
Use the same.
She protects Peter Parker's secret identity. When he's all alone in detention, she makes it bearable. And the fact that he's attracted to her shows that he's willing to grow in terms of wants and desires. Therefore, in contrast to Sam Raimi's interpretation, the drama does not come from the characters being orientated towards the past, but comes from them trying to make the most out of the present. Peter Parker and MJ loves each other because they improve each other, and they make their times as teenagers a little bit less lonely.
Really? Right before nationals? He already quit marching band and robotics lab. I'm not obsessed with him, I'm just very observant.
Subsequently, MJ's two main alliances can be broken down into a very simple three-act structure. The story begins with MJ existing as someone who is accepted by being ignored. For instance...
Oh, wait, three-act structure of a side character? Really? Okay. This is new.
Okay.
I mean, usually you do this with an entire story, not an individual. But
I mean, you could argue it's like her story, I guess.
I'm not against. Yeah, I'm not against using a framework, but it's like, okay, if you want to try that, let's see. I mean, this is after the fact. I don't think the writer actually thought this through, but you know.
No, maybe, but
yeah.
She sits at the dinner table alone, and in PE she's exercising alone too, while Peter and Ned are having a bit of banter.
Exercising is quite generous.
Yeah, we met.
Then she begins to actively take actions to improve herself and open up to the world around her in order to get closer to Peter Parker. She begins to answer questions, spends time with him in detention, and even starts calling people her friends.
My friends call me MJ.
I thought you didn't have any friends.
I didn't.
And finally, this new MJ becomes the attraction of two ripped guys, and Peter actually confesses his feelings. At first, she wants to retreat because she struggles with committing to her new self, but in the end, she kisses him and it's all good.
I don't really have much luck when it comes to getting close to people, so I lied.
You're a teenager. What do you want? Like what?
This is so like 10 out of 10 dialogue. It's literally just, I'm going to explain my character's character flaw. This is my character flaw. Okay.
I am a teenager. I've never had relationships before. It's like, no shit.
Yeah, no shit. I didn't have date anybody until I was 21, 22-ish, because I was focused on a college. When I was 16 to 19.
A lot of people do that later after high school or whatever. That's pretty normal. So for a character to say, I have problems getting close to people, it's like, you...
Really?
How old are you?
Yeah, no shiz. Yeah, no shiz. This has been pretty obvious from your character. You didn't need to say it, but I guess Peter is oblivious, so maybe.
We just spell everything out to the audience.
Much into so little screen time. I don't think she has that much screen time.
She could have said, I'm
At
not good with people.
He's not making up stuff. He's not I don't think he's blatantly wrong.
No, right. Yeah.
I think like he said, he's reading a little bit too much into it, but he's not adjusting quality. Is the thing. It's just a reading, which is actually kind of refreshing.
It's nowhere near the what do you call it? The whale represents the fight between whale and squid. Level of symbolism.
Oh God!
It's a little bit more.
The giraffe and the zebra are representative of unicorns and exotic animals.
And the giraffe,
animals and fairy tales,
and
the pure maiden.
Dangerous, but not on it. But they're also a creature of prey. What?
Oh.
Thanks.
Wow.
How deep? Very philosophical.
Well,
10 out of 10 would not watch again.
So
really gets the noggin and the jogging.
So there's no symbolism here. It's just oh yeah, she's a thing, which she's already shown us she is. Thank you, movie. We get it. So not a bad thing, just blatantly obvious. So anyway,
message coming in.
I can't fault it for being obvious, as long as it's not insulting me while it's doing so. So her saying I'm not very good at getting close to people. She could have been that way even as a kid, but I think most kids are shy anyway, so that's kind of normal. So if she was like 18 or so, I'd be like, all right, fine, I could buy that. But if she's like 15...
But I would say this makes her less like the MJ of the comics, both thematically and literally.
Sure.
Like the MJ of the comics is not like shy.
No.
Like this. No.
All right, Joe Crazy. She's not like the other girls. Get it?
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
This is another thing that is annoying about MCU MJ. She's supposed to be one of the most confident and social people, exactly. not a dang wallflower. It's a little, something's a bit off. I wouldn't say it's a bad depiction. I just like it's saying these things, like the way she talks is very straightforward, and the way she behaves is kind of like, well, I'm doing this for X. Like she has an answer for everything. She's in detention. Why? Because she just wants. I feel
like in terms of, there are far better examples of characters that like have no filter and say what they mean. I feel like, I guess like Cordelia or Anya from Buffy would be better examples of characters like that, where they say these really like, they just tell the truth with no filter, and they just say whatever they're thinking, even if it offends people. I feel like they're far better examples of that kind of idea, if that's what they were going for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the kind of humor I like, where it's like the Drax the Destroyer type humor, where he's like,
yeah,
my father told the story of how he impregnated my mother every winter solstice. That's disgusting. It was beautiful. You Earthers have hang-ups.
I wasn't just watching you because I thought you were Spider-Man.
MJ doesn't have the most complex character arc in the world, but she's designed to hold a mirror to Peter Parker's. Just as he learns to accept himself and rise above being the underdog, so does she. And as she begins to become a better person, he's unconsciously drawn there too. As a result, the actual contents of this relationship and the message are the total opposites to Sam Raimi's version, because their love is not a doomed search for meaning in the past. Instead, it's a powerful acceptance towards the needs that are right in front of them. For example, after the big kiss between Sam Raimi's version of Peter Parker and Mary Jane, she looks saddened by the future as Peter Parker gloriously swings alone. Whereas after John Watts' MJ and Peter kiss, she smiles, and before the credits, they swing off together. This romance is all about the beauty of change.
I'm appointing Michelle.
The big difference between the MJs are that Sam Raimi's interpretive philosophy is to bend the modern to the symbol of the old in order to reinstate them. Because just as how we
bend the what?
Beauty of change.
I'm appointing Michelle.
The big difference between the MJs are that Sam Raimi's interpretive philosophy is to bend the modern to the symbol of the old in order to reinstate them. Because just as how we ritualistically hold on to the memories of these characters, the story and world is optimized to parallel this mnemonic process. Who Peter Parker wanted as teenagers, what defines him as...
We're entering word salad territory here, I think.
Yeah, he said a lot, and I don't know what he's getting at.
He's trying to say that they're modernizing Mary Jane by bringing the old Mary Jane into the current, like with the Sam Raimi films, to bring them to modern contemporary settings with. But not too modern, like they're going back a few years, so they have cathode ray tube TVs and other older cars and fashion, like they mentioned before. Whereas the next one is just more modern, and they're changing her character to reflect what a kid might be like, I presume, in high school. I just don't know the exact age of MJ to say how modern she is. But it's certainly a different take on MJ, and not the one we would think of when we think of MJ. It's always a quirky or a loner or some sort of very isolated, specific, singular idea. because we don't see the rest of those connections. She's by herself, so she has to do something. We have to have scenes with her. Whereas MJ in the original Sam Raimi is popular. She's in all these shots. Everyone's talking to her. She has friends. She has boyfriends, etc. So that's kind of the difference, I imagine.
A man, whereas John Watts' reimagining is about adapting the character to the modern and preserving not the memory, but the logic and experience behind the relatability of these characters.
Okay, so he's saying almost the same thing, where nostalgia, or rather the comic, was being adapted to the modern, but now we're also doing that with the new one? It's the same. There's the same statement.
I think the general gist of the video, I think, is that the MCU movies are trying to portray the equivalent meaning, which means that the symbolism is going to be different based on what it means today, whereas the Sam Raimi one is more literally adapting it, I think.
It's the same. Honestly, it's the same. An adaptation is an adaptation. What depends on what you're doing to that element. So obviously you're being inspired by MJ in the comics, but we're doing our own take on that for whatever plot reason or for whatever characterization you want to pull off. Fine. But to frame it like, oh, well, this is a more modern take, and the other one's just trying to bring back what came before, by modernizing it, you're saying exactly the same thing. So be specific. What exactly about MJ? What exactly about Peter Parker? What exactly about the element of whatever you're doing? That's what I wanted, because you just said a bunch of stuff which it said exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's just word salad at this point. It's
Because the reason why people often love these characters in the first place is because they were relevant to their own social experiences. MJ is about a changing Peter Parker who wants different things as he gets older.
I don't think they're relevant to everyone's social experience. I don't think everyone had romance or personal relationships in high school the same way that occurred in the Raimi movies. That'd be kind of weird. Girl next door who is super popular ends up falling in love with you and you become a superhero or whatever. That's a stretch. Quirky, weird girl might like you. Maybe some of us had that experience in high school, but I don't think it's universal.
Currently, the original Mary Jane characters kind of become a bit like a Rorschach test. As time changes, social values alters, what is popular or subversive is always swapping around. And the different stories that these two MJs help tell shows us that these changes in culture can be measured through narratives. But hey, that's just a theory. A sociological, cultural, mnemonic, narratological, and discursive film theory.
What? Stop it. Stop it. Fuck off.
What was that?
No.
Speak fucking English.
What was that? I couldn't follow that.
What the fuck was that at the end?
I don't know.
Speak
that was
English.
quick. That was 13 minutes of video in 1 hour. That's pretty good.
We've got
Do I do another one?
40 seconds left. So
Do we have any short videos we could do?
Yeah, I don't think so. I have to go through the list again. What was that?
Okay, that was weird.
What was that about?
That was why? Why would you add that?
Was that like a stinger to your video on YouTube? Like, why would you do that?
Why?
Okay, he's buff. All right.
It was an awkward situation. You made it awkward by adding it into your movie, into your film. Now.
Thanks. That's great. All right. Yeah.
How long is these credits?
15 seconds left. My
Why is it
goodness.
still going?
Yeah,
Oh my
I don't
word.
think anybody cares about what music you put in your video.
Bam. Boom.
All right, that's enough.
Okay, so he's doing like up next on my YouTube channel.
Teaser at the
It's
end
like,
of his video.
it's like you're watching a sitcom or something.
It's like we're watching a Marvel film.
Oh. All right, that was. That was pretty good. I actually liked that. That wasn't so bad.
It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't like, ugh, what is he saying next? It's like, okay, yeah, I see what he's saying. That makes sense.
I don't feel like drinking my pain away.
Oh, I was already
Message coming
drinking,
in.
so I don't know.
It's no Maggie fish.
No,
nowhere near that.
That's not even on the scale.
Yeah. Nowhere near as bad. Hey, we could always watch a 5-minute movie bot video.
No.
You say
We do,
5
now
minutes.
the drinking starts.
That means like 2 hours. Good lord.
We could do School of Movie. We could do a short School of Movies video.
Oh my god.
There's that 1 minute 49 Cartoon Network video. The Crystal Gems say be anti-racist. We could do that if you wanted to knock one out.
I'm gonna read a super chat and find out. Joe Crazy almost got with a quirky weird girl in high school. Dodged a bullet there. Okay, I mean it could have worked out. I don't know. You never know. Sorry, what was the option you guys were recommending?
Well, I was saying there's that video that's only 1 minute 49, which is the Crystal Gems say be anti-racist. If you want to do that one, because it would be quick to do.
All right, let me just
presumably.
Oh god, that one! Oh my god. Is that the Cartoon Network one?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
The furious typing of pain and torment coming our way.
Oh god.
Okay, if you guys don't know, when did this thing? Oh, it was last month. This is. I mean, we should probably just watch it, but this is one of the. Oh God! It's just I wouldn't say it's a word salad. It's more like this person just rambles on about slavery. I think. And it's done from the Cartoon Network. You're like, oh my God, you're teaching kids this way, like a PSA. Anyway, comments are turned off. Wow.
Well, that's certainly a good sign.
All right. Well, let's see how long this takes.
All right, class. Can anyone tell me who invented the light bulb?
Oh my fucking god! I swear to fuck! I swear to fuck!
Be attributed to Lewis Latimer, the black inventor behind the filament inside the bulb.
What the hell?
That's not the same fucking thing.
That's the same thing.
That's not the. Fuck off!
What happened to her skull?
Ah, my fucking god! This is not the same.
Did she just
That's
teleport
not the same thing.
an object from her mind into reality or something?
It was not just fucking instantly. Oh well, as long as you can do that with the filament, then it's a straight path straight to the light bulb. It's easy. Like no,
don't invent anything ever, because if you have to use pre-using materials, those people claim right to the invention.
Yeah.
The guy who invented the pencil owns your book if you write it.
Every car has to have a different shape of wheels.
So back in the day, if I remember correctly, they were using argon gas and a tungsten filament to be heated up with electricity, so it gets super hot and produces light.
Message coming in.
So
Patching it through.
I mean, there's other filaments we've been using over the years when we're talking about classic light bulb, not fluorescent light bulbs or LCDs. So, yeah, I mean, Thomas Edison didn't invent everything, but he had the patent, so he owned it.
Yeah.
Inside the bulb.
His invention made light bulbs affordable and efficient enough for the general public, bringing electric light into households around the world.
Well,
he didn't invent the light bulb, though.
You know.
That sounds like the glory of capitalism right
Is
there.
that it? Hold on. We're not going to mention why he invented the filament? To create a better standard of living for people who had only just been freed from...
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Oh! Stop! Oh my fucking lord! Ah!
Chill, white woman.
So when people invent things or make things or produce things, it's usually because they want to sell said thing to people.
I fucking hate gems.
Well, we do know that the makers of Rise of Skywalker were too spineless to put in Ewoks, so they put in black people because they're essentially interchangeable, at least according to Quentin reviews.
Oh. Well, that's not very nice.
Message coming in.
I'm pretty sure he wasn't inventing it just for black people. He's probably inventing it for
because it was a
will buy
fucking opening in the fucking market for cheaper fucking light bulbs. It's not that. It's not some moral crusade.
It's capitalism. Something these people hate.
We're not going to use kerosene. We're going to use electricity. Oh my god! For the black man. I'm like, what? Wait, slow down.
Yep.
Joe
no
Crazy.
whites allowed.
I think there are 2 of those SUPSAs. Yeah, I just saw the second one. It's on the list if you want to. We don't have to, but they're very quick. Inventing something and improving something are not the same thing. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of people who helped in the construction and the procedure of a motherboard, of circuits, of the entire concept of a personal computer. There's no one person we could point to say he invented the PC. We can't say Apple had a patent on their flavor of a PC, the same way IBM did, and other manufacturers. So, nothing to do with race, nothing to do with the freedom movement of the 70s.
Although, if we're keeping fucking score, like if we were to keep score,
Yeah,
if we were going to compare.
The Japanese made the silicon microchip. Oh my god, they're like, for retribution against World War II. Like, wait, no, that's not why they did it. Oh, Vladimir Dragunov. If that's the game they want to play, then the guy who came up with the idea of a peanut flavored butter like paste was actually a white guy.
Well, I think the Aztecs had peanut butter.
We can go back. Sure. Yeah, we can go back to Egypt, saying they invented beer and all this other stuff, and mead, and things like that. Preservations of foods. It's like, it's ancient India. Like all these philosophies came from there. It's like, yes, so it was thousands of years ago.
And the thing about it as well about peanut butter is like, personally, I never eat peanut butter. Like, how much of an improvement of life is peanut butter?
I mean, if you have problems chewing your food,
it improves it greatly. How dare you?
Yeah, and you need protein, and you want it to be smooth and creamy. Then there you go, smooth and creamy peanut butter for your old cavity-ridden teeth, so you could have a dessert. I don't know, whatever you want to do with peanut butter. So, I just love nuts. Okay, I want them every day. I just can't chew nuts anymore. Anyway. Let's hear her rant.
Slavery? Are we going to ask why kids are apparently learning about Thomas Edison?
Thomas Edison!
Ugh.
Because he's way more fucking important, you fucking retard!
Textbooks are incomplete. There were black Roman warriors, black medieval knights, black classical musicians.
This is so fucking retarded. This is literally like, okay, yeah, the vast majority of the white, but then they go, there were literally some, like there was literally several black violinists or whatever, and it's like,
weren't there black Roman soldiers because Romans were taking over Africa and incorporating?
I suspect they might be being extremely generous.
Military.
I suspect they might be extremely generous with their definition of black as well, because like a lot of North Africa, like they're native to North Africa, but they're not really black in what anyone really means by black. You wouldn't look like people from like Tunisia. They don't look white, but they certainly don't look like black people. What people actually mean when they say black people.
Like current day Egypt is a very, very good representation of like what people looked like even back in the day. Because most of like the black, like what we would consider African black is like south.
Yeah, well, it's
of that.
sub-Saharan.
Yeah.
It's like Khoisan and Bantu.
Message
coming in. What's the other
Middle
one?
East and Mediterranean. The North Africa.
Well, the reason is she started.
Well,
off,
I think okay.
She started off with Edison. So if you're going to say anything about Edison, the most controversial thing that we want to address when you get angry about Edison is not only his patents, but his sort of rivalry with what's his
Tesla.
name? With Tesla, yeah, and all the fight between alternating current and direct current, and all the patents he had to stop Tesla from doing his thing, and like that would be something to get angry over, because we're talking about two pioneers striving to make technology that would change our life. So that is like,
Message
okay, bring up Thomas Edison, then bring up what he was known for and what.
But also, he wasn't just a one-hit wonder as well. Like he was working on a lot of things and contributed a lot to the general like field of electronics and things. But it's just so silly. It's like, oh, aren't you talking about this one black guy who made this tiny improvement to this? It's
if you're gonna do that, just have a presentation about people of color who invented cool shit, and that'd be fine. Just go boom, 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 boom. Black people are awesome.
That is actually interesting.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it would be very niche, but it'd be interesting.
Sure, but
this idea that you're ignoring it, you're erasing history. Like it's just not that important to understand the development, the development of most of these technologies.
Yeah, like
it's just not that important.
We could certainly talk about the space race and how the Americans were trying to one-up Russia with getting into space first, and all the experiments they were doing, and all the people they sacrificed. And like, that's horrible. That's a really scary thing. But we got to the moon for some crazy reason, and that pushed people up to challenge to things that were difficult. And you could talk about the tragedy of life and all. What did we get out of that, and etc. So, unless there's something I'm missing here, why are we so angry? I don't get it.
Yeah, going on these tirades, nobody's going to want to listen to you. Nobody likes being talked down to. No one likes being yelled at. Nobody likes being basically treated like a monster or lesser, because they don't either are uneducated in a certain field or ignorant in anything. It's just, don't be a bitch.
It's like, how is it fucking relevant that there was literally several like black knights or whatever in England? Like, so fucking what? That's irrelevant to like the grand story, like the overall.
It's the same argument
of
if
any of those places. It's like, why the fuck do we need to know about some random knight?
Like, look at the founder of Apple and all the engineers who worked on the technology that they are not known for, because they're the ones who actually literally built the microchips and the iPhones and the iPads, and it's the company that gets the credit because they own the patents. It's like, we don't really, like, I'm sure lots of people made all kinds of wonderful technology that we don't know about. But why is their skin tone relevant? I don't know. Anyway, Vladimir Dragunov, I'm just saying, if they're going to appeal to technicalities, then they're not going to like what they see. Vladimir Dragunov, source dude, trust me. Yeah. Also, peanut butter goes great with celery. Yes, it does. I agree.
Message coming in.
But that's because I'm Italian and we're biased towards celery. So, yeah. Fran Mataraki, as a black person, this totally makes life easier for me and totally doesn't feel like a condescending head pat. Yeah, I know. Did you know a black man invented the toilet? Like, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we get it.
Congratulations. Your skin color doesn't make you useless.
Oh.
What? This logic is so dumb.
Joe Crazy, it's funny that people who say there were black Roman soldiers forget that Africa is big and diverse landmass. Right. I mean, there's all kinds of tribes and cultures of Africa who also had soldiers and slaves and did horrible things to each other, like every other person on or country in the world. So, yeah. Anyway, we got 1 minute left of this ranting cartoon with the teleporting forehead. So cool.
Where are they? I worry about you humans because you only live, what, about 100 years? You rely on these stories to know
You humans? Fuck!
Systemic race.
What's going on
You
here?
can't say that, you humans. What do you mean by that, you fucking racist bitch?
Is she an alien?
Fuck you, you human. How fucking dare you?
Is she a speciesist?
Some kind of fucking gem supremacist? Fucking bitch.
Oh boy, this is getting saucy.
Where are they? I worry about you humans because you only live, what, about 100 years?
Oh, also, obviously, she has a brown slave there just to catch the book. You know, once he throws it, just waiting there patiently.
But he's not black. He's just brown.
Yeah, just generic diverse.
He's just got a bad sunburn.
He's just diverse.
He's generically diverse.
Person of generic color, yeah, just whatever.
Person of generic color.
You rely on these stories to know your own history. Thanks to systemic racism, most of your stories...
What is that?
Fucking gems. I fucking hate him.
This was on Cartoon Network. They played this for children.
We need to deal with the gem problem.
The alien invasion. Telling us what to do.
Children got yelled at by this cartoon. They're always on and on about how sensitive we need to be, yet here she is yelling at kids.
Tellers prize white accomplishments, which leaves you with an incomplete picture. Ask yourself as you're learning history, who's telling the story? Was this modified to make white readers comfortable?
Wow.
What the fuck are you on about, bro?
Comfortable? I'm not comfortable with history. I'm reading a book. What the hell do I care? Those people died hundreds of years ago. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, who's telling the story of history? The people that won. Nobody wants to hear history written by losers.
American history.
It is sometimes interesting to. It is sometimes interesting, but it shouldn't be taken as total gospel, since there are biases on both sides.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, what is it that in history class or whatever? What is it that is so altered? Because we learn about slavery, we learn about look at these bad things white people did. We still learn about that shit. So
patching it through.
What am I missing here? What is there that's censored in history books today to make white people feel more comfortable? I can't think of a single fucking thing.
Yeah. We got 30 seconds. We can power through this. We can beat this video.
We're going to pause
Mark
5 more
3D.
times.
Thank you, Mark 3D for the donation. You're humans. 10 minutes later, by eliminating the crystal gems of CN, you banish yet another species to the realms of extinction, proving once again that genocide is a viable solution to any problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta do it.
Joe Crazy, yeah, she's an alien rock person. What is going on? What? You humans, holy jeez.
You gotta be you humans, fucking goy.
I don't identify as a human.
I'm a non-rock binary.
What even is human? What do you even mean? It's not a scientific category.
Some white man invented the language of classification. What?
Fucking.
Vladimir Dragunov, I don't need some alien getting worried on my species' behalf. Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird. I'm an alien. I'm objective. No, you're not.
Sick of this fucking gem colonialism.
The aliens are here to improve our lives, just like the Europeans did for everywhere they went.
Disgusting.
Message coming in.
Disgusting.
Got better tech, but life's kind of sucked.
Where's our fucking gem reparations?
Yeah.
Bitch.
Joe Crazy, we learn about history other than Western, you alien bit. Yeah, the wonders of black culture.
Specialized and taught in college.
Oh, it's just
I recently took an African history class like for my last semester of college, and it was kind of interesting to see that like the most of like the bad things that happen like in Africa to African natives was black people selling their fellows into slavery. Like that's where they got most of the money, most of the fodder for the trade.
Well, there was more of the slave trade was in Africa than was in the Atlantic slave trade. Like most of it was just within Africa, but they didn't even not even like to sell to go across the ocean, like literally just to be slaves within Africa. But it's just like I don't fucking care, and I don't see like it's like okay, and like it's like oh, your people did bad things to these people. Like I don't give a fuck. I don't give a single shit. I don't fucking care. Fuck you.
Oh boy, Tyler Preston. Why does an alien being even give a damn? This is their attempt at being objective, but by using the same language that if they weren't an alien would use, and it's very strange. Systemic racism is like what? Excuse me. Vladimir Dragunov, mind your own business. Xeno. Ooh, I like that one. Ooh. Joe Crazy, call the Inquisition. We have a Xeno spreading BS. I know, it's very dangerous.
Everyone's throwing around the X word all a lot.
Xeno.
You gotta that.
The only good Xeno is a dead. Yeah, I know. It's kind of extreme.
Looks like gems are back on the menu, boys.
Remember, no gems.
Wait a second. Do humans have menus? Do they have restaurants yet? Oh, they do. Okay, we're good. All right.
Hello, all my fellow
Details being
X-words.
left out that would credit people of color and center their point of view? Honestly, I should have asked for script approval before agreeing to do this.
We'll do some rewrites. I'm sorry. We didn't know.
Well,
what the fuck do you fucking mean, bro? You're literally a scripted cartoon, you fucking retarded gem!
What did she do? Did she just wipe out the floor with her gem powers? Like, what did she...
Fuck!
Kill all humans. Bzz. Whoa.
We are in control.
This fucking bullshit. Like I should have called the script writer or whatever. Like, bitch, you're literally fucking scripted. You're not like outside of the. It's sort of like trying to imply that what she's saying is like edgy, and this is what the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. Like, no, fuck off.
Well. Long 20 minutes.
Okay, so this is the Steven Universe and the Crystal Gems. Wow. That's where this is from. Now, there's another one. I'm not going to watch it, but it says, don't deny it, defy it. The Crystal Gems say, be anti-racist.
That's the one where the one literally says, don't be racist.
Racist kids.
Have
you seen the edit of that? Have you seen the edit of that where it's like, fuck you, I will. It's just the cyberpunk music.
I haven't seen that one. Anyway, I think that's enough for me. For the wonderful world of gems, whatever the hell that is. I don't even know what that is. I've never seen it before.
Steven Universe.
Yeah.
You're better off not watching it.
Oh wow! Well, that
about
was
a little clown boy.
Oh. Okay. Well, I mean, that was pretty quick. Wasn't so bad. We watched 2 videos. They were nice and short, and I actually liked the first one. I hated the second one. So
it's time to notice a theme in recent Smudcast.
Everything was going
and it
so
was
well.
dense. The second one was dense for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, slow down there, crazy.
They managed to pack in so much crazy shit.
The first one's like, I think Mary Jane's kind of cool. It's like, okay, fine, yeah, whatever. Don't be a racist, you humans. Like, holy shit, what?
You humans? Stop phrasing.
Anyway, I think that's enough. I'm gonna go find another video to cry over, and hopefully it won't be this crazy. So I'm gonna be adding new suggestions tonight. So don't get voting till tomorrow morning. It's gonna take me time to go through some, and hopefully we'll have some new videos that you guys have been choosing over the past few weeks. that we can check out. I'll probably have to open up a 7th voting channel just because there's so many. And hopefully I'll be able to screen them a bit better so we don't get crazy dumb ones that just end up having nothing to, like, being empty vessels of a video, someone just rambling on for minutes on end. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you. Oh, just got a super chat. Sorry. Vladimir Dragunov. It's the same energy as a European. I think American gun laws are, yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah.
We hear a lot of opinions on American politics every day.
As a European, I think American gun laws are based and red.
I think they're in the way of me owning guns.
She said,
"Well, as an American, me and this M16 tell you to shut up."
Blow it out your ass.
Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. Keep the suggestions coming, as I will be adding them more concurrently because I'm going to be cleaning them out.
Message coming in.
And keep voting tomorrow
Patching it
morning.
through.
Please do. So talk to you real soon. Have yourself a wonderful evening.